Okay, so today we're going to talk about balance or lack thereof. So I want to know when I first say like balance, what does that make you think of?
A constant, like a seesaw.
Okay,
I think of a seesaw, like you're trying to get balance, but do you ever really get balanced? Not really.
no.
One side's gonna be higher, one side's gonna be lower. But I visualize the seesaw in my brain when I
Yeah.
think about it.
So how do you handle balance like with personal and work?
It's hard. It is. I would be lying if it's something that I said that our home wasn't talking about a lot right now. And I think what we found is it just comes with a lot of communication. Some days it's I'm going to be here, and some days I'm going to be here, and I have started leaning into and using the sayings of how Brene Brown talks
Mm,
about, like, okay, 100% is in the household, but some days you're going to walk in the door and you've got 80, or sometimes
yeah.
you've got 20, or sometimes you've got 50. And I've started referencing that with my husband and just saying, hey, I've got 20. I
Mhm.
need you to pull 80. Can you pull 80 for me? Or today I've got 50. Can you match me at 50?
Yeah.
And that's really what it feels like, is the reality of having a complete every single day being 50-50 is just not feasible. So we just communicate and we reference Brene Brown and
Mhm.
we've started communicating in a way where it's like 80-20. What you got? When you walk in the door, what are we feeling? Where
Yeah.
are we at?
So I know we're both very ambitious and have big goals
Yeah,
and things that we're working towards.
yeah.
So how do you feel like that kind of plays a factor with what you're striving for work wise and what you're striving for in like your personal family life?
When you own a business, they all feel so intertwined, and I think your business goals become a way to create your personal goals.
Mm,
And so when we dream, because we all should dream,
yep.
right? Like, you have to dream, or what really are you working for?
Mhm.
But when I dream about, okay, this is where I would love to see the business grow in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, or longer, I think about, wow, how would that allow me to buy back my time in the places that I need it? Because the reality is that, do you really buy back your time? In a sense, yes, but really you just trade it out for more flexibility. That's really what you do. You grow to a point where you can have the choice to say, you know what, I'm going to take that Friday off, but I'm going to
Mhm.
have to make up those hours, you know. Um, so I just want, and vice versa. There are some goals that we'll talk about that more play into our personal, financial or family goals. And I'll be like, okay, well, this is how the business has to play a factor in that. They're so intertwined.
Mhm.
And it's because, when you are growing a business, it's just not something that you can turn off
No.
like in other situations. You just can't. Trust me, I've tried. You can't. I think it's important to set boundaries, which I'm not good at, and I'm learning to be
Yeah.
better at. But you can't turn it completely off. You just can't, and that's kind of the beauty of it, in a sense. There is a beauty behind it.
Yeah. I agree completely. I know Greg and I talk a lot about how do we structure not balance because again like you said like you're never equally like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So we talk all the time about like what are we trading our time for and what are we like
Hmm.
sacrificing, and I mean that's the reason we sold his business because it
Hmm.
was requiring too much of him, and it allowed us to pour into my business, which then allowed us to actually have more time at home, even though I am working. And we were spending a lot of time and energy and effort in growing my business, which means we're in a season of growth,
Yep.
which means we're working more,
Yep.
but we're trading off, kind of like you said, like buying back our time in different pieces because we're like, okay, if we deposit into this, or if I have to go work 12 hours out of the house one day, I can spend all day Friday with everyone.
Yep.
And there's that give and take, but different things have different just requirements in different seasons.
Yeah. And it almost seems like, from an outsider's perspective, watching you and Greg, and the way it's almost like you guys are trying to find the most efficient
Hmm.
the efficient method to run your home, which I love seeing because I kind of believe that when you are a business owner or have run a business, your home almost feels like it's built out in systems. Like I
Mm,
know our home continues to evolve more into like, okay, this is a system.
yeah.
We have to run it efficiently in order for it to work. And I very much see that played out with you and Greg, but you kind of have to have systems in order to be able to create some sense of balance when you need
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. But obviously, I'm a very systems oriented person.
it. Mm-hmm.
My personality just flows that way. But we do strive for efficiency. Like, if something's not efficient, we're like, either we scrap it or how do we make it more efficient?
Yep.
And I'm super grateful that Greg has that same mentality because inefficiency really makes me mad.
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing this?
Waste of time. What is this? Why are we doing this?
Yes, a
Yeah.
hundred percent. Um, one thing that I think is really interesting is, especially for women, we talk about balance all the time because we're women.
Mm.
But I feel like I don't hear a lot of men being asked how they balance things. I mean, do you feel the same? Like, do you see that?
Yeah, I think my perspective, and this is just who I am, so it may be different from others, but I intentionally, I think, as the woman, the wife of the home, I think I try to take things off of him
Mm,
naturally to make things easier on him.
mm-hmm.
And there are times when he'll communicate that, like, hey, I can't do it all. His how he communicates it is very different than how I would communicate it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think what I've witnessed is that I really try to make it hard for him to get overwhelmed. But
Mm,
I think that's just because of the way that women were created and how we want to serve our husbands
yeah.
and we want to see them, we want to build them up. And so that they're a comfortable provider and that they are a strong provider, head of the household. Um, but I can't see that I see him struggling with that very often, and that doesn't mean that that's always me, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that he just handles it differently.
It's true.
My I'm thankful that my husband is the calm and steady in our home. So while I'm very passionate and
Yeah.
get very excited and I love people and I feel the highs and lows very intensely.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't change that, but it definitely comes with an emotional swing, which I've had to manage. But for him, he's even kill all the time. And so I don't see his struggles as visually.
Mm-hmm.
So I really have to check in with him. That's where those like pulse checks come really into play because it's like, hey, how are you? Like,
Yeah.
what do you need? And the longer you're married, the more that you realize, like, oh, this is he's showing me, but in a way that only I can see. Like I see this, and this means that he needs some support. Um, but no, I don't see that as often in men. And I think as women, we take on the weight of the world
Mm-hmm.
naturally because I just think that that's who we were made to be. We were made to be that that strong person that is there to support our husbands, and I just think it was a piece the way that we were created.
Yeah. No, I agree completely, and I very similar. Like with Greg, we he's not asked like, oh, how do you balance this or that, or how do you do this or that, but
Mm-mm.
he does do a lot, especially now that we've sold his business. Like
Yeah.
he is helping a lot around the house and with different things. He's also working in my business, so we're doing things together, and like so we are balancing these roles and these things, but still, um, I think it's a interesting dynamic to see that like men, it's no big deal if they go and have a career and a family, and people don't ask them, well, how do you do it all and how do you do this and that? But with women, and like I know especially for
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yeah.
like I love what I do. I tried to step away from it when we had our third,
Really.
and I struggled. I think I lasted 6 months, and I was like, all right, you got to get back into working more. And so that's kind of where we developed the how do we have both?
Yeah.
And of course, it's still some days we have it, some days we don't. Some days I'm gone all day working, and some days I'm home all day. But there's a flow of at least I kind of do get both and.
Yeah.
I can have the family and I can still be present with my kids, but I can also still have this really awesome business and career that I want that pours into me so I can pour into them.
Yeah. I'm
So,
so curious, what are some of the systems that you've implemented in your home that has allowed you to make your home work more efficiently and kind of give you the sense of a little bit more balance, a little bit more predictability?
yeah, that's a great question. I feel like to me these things seem really simple, but maybe to someone else they're going to listen and be like, "You know what? That's actually I never thought of that." So, we are very intentional about where does our time go. And so we quickly outsourced things around our house that we were losing money by doing it. So like our
Mm-hmm.
lawn care, that's completely outsourced
Yeah.
because Greg would spend like 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
doing lawn care. Like that's just unnecessary and taking
Yeah.
away from where we could be making money.
Mm-hmm.
We have someone maintenance our pool because again that was a huge time suck that we were like, okay, that's gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
We have someone come clean the house every other week just to like help with that burden. So those pieces are like really small. We do grocery delivery only because again, like the time I save from not going to the grocery store and I'm not spending that much more money
And
on.
money you save, believe it or not,
Yeah,
in a
I
lot of
spend less.
cases.
I stick to our budget because I see that total go up in the cart and I'm like, I don't know, I don't need that. We can take that away.
Less of those grabs while you're hungry or that looks
Yes.
good. Oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those pieces have been really helpful from like an outsourcing perspective. But then actually in the way we run the household, I feel like we do things that are repeatable and that are easy and honestly kind of boring. So we eat the same food like every week. We do not change up our meals that often. Every once in a while we'll try something new,
Mm.
but we rotate through the same like 5 to 8 meals constantly just to make it easy and then I can just get the same groceries. And then when we get sick of something, we switch it out for something else.
Yep.
So that helps a lot because it reduces my decision fatigue when it comes to like the household stuff.
Yep.
Um, most of our bills are on auto pay because again, like I don't need to be thinking about did the bill get paid. I just need to know that it's been paid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our kids are on a very like strict routine. They know what to expect. And so like when they wake up, they know they're supposed to get dressed, brush their teeth, go eat breakfast, and they get like 30 to 45 minutes to play before they start school. And so they just know that that routine exists and that's what we do every single day
Wow.
unless we have somewhere to go. And there's certain days we go places and certain days we don't. So they just know what's expected of them. And that is super helpful. But really it's just balancing that the ebb and flow of like even Greg and I take turns on who takes who where. So like on Mondays I take the kids to jujitsu, but on Thursdays he takes them. And on Tuesdays I take the girls to dance, but he takes Luca to golf. So like we just have very clear like this is yours and this is mine and
Mm.
you do that and I do that. And that has given us a lot of the pockets of time where we can be like, okay, well we can switch it up now because we did this. It kind of makes me think of like if you have a budget, a lot of people feel like it's restricting,
Yeah.
but it's really not restricting. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually giving you the freedom to choose what to do with your money.
It's empowering.
That's how I feel about like we have very strict systems and routines, and it gives us the ability to create the free time
Yeah.
rather than be forced into it.
You don't have that fatigue of, oh, let me check with my spouse. You have clear understanding of what your schedule looks like. And
Yeah.
otherwise, I mean, if it creates fatigue if you're constantly having to like check in and it's inefficient of time.
Yes.
So the clearer that you can map out your schedule and overall what expectations are to help the home function,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, it's empowering.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Moving the decision fatigue was like the biggest thing that helped us and saved my sanity.
I love that. I'm definitely going to be implementing some of those things.
They they are very wonderful. They have helped me infinitely.
I love that. There was a question on here that really made me excited. Oh, well, not excited, but I think I've definitely been experiencing this right now. Um, the guilt
Mm-hmm.
women feel no matter what they choose. Uh, Talk a little bit about that. I mean, how does your guilt meter feel? Are there scenarios when you don't feel guilty or times where you've
Mm-hmm.
noticed patterns or not? talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, ironically, like even this morning, there's a tinge of like, okay, I feel guilty, but also like I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
But in the moment when you have a kid who's like, "Mommy, don't leave," or you have to go work again, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't even work as much as a normal 9 to 5. Like, I don't leave that often. I'm not like, I'm in meetings and stuff a lot, but that hurts because it's like, my 5 year old's like, "Why are you leaving again?" I'm like, "Bro, I left for 2 hours." Like, it's not that big a deal, but I understand at this point, they're very used to mommy and daddy being home all the time with
They
them.
are.
Even if we're
Mm-hmm.
working, which they know we work, we have businesses, um, there's still moments where I'm like, dang, like, I just want to hang out with you, or I do want to spend time with you. But again, that's why we're intentional with, like, I
Mm-hmm.
get up early to work. And that helps with the guilt because I can stop work at 2 o'clock
Yeah.
and then I can spend that whole evening with them. So that it's hard. And there's even
Mm-hmm.
times where Greg, I know at the end of the night, he like wants to talk and hang out, and I am drained. Like I'm mentally just like, I can't even have this conversation, and I'm so sorry. I really do want to give you like undivided
Mm-hmm.
time and attention, but between the business and being a mom and everyone needing me, I'm just touched out and
Mm-hmm.
exhausted, and I just want to go to bed.
Yeah.
And I do feel guilty about that sometimes, but I communicate with like him about that. We
Mm-hmm.
have very clear communication, and we both knew and understood going into the next 2 years what that meant if we wanted to really grow and push for these goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's really supportive, thankfully. Even with the kids, he's like stepping up and like, hey, come here. Like, Deacon this morning was screaming, crying because he just wanted me to hold him, and I'm like standing there in a towel, like, I can't hold you right now. I'm trying to get dressed. Like, I just need a minute. And he just walked in, was like, "Come here, buddy," and like held him, and like that alone helped alleviate the guilt because I know at least he's with like his dad, and like it's fine because he's handling it.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
It does make perfect sense. And that's why it's so important who you choose to be your partner. Is such a, I mean, that alone, I mean, I've had the ability to meet so many amazing women
Mm-hmm.
that have either built businesses in the past or are actively building a business. And all of our stories are so different. But, you know, the ones that I've met that don't have that support, they're exhausted. And
Mm-hmm.
think about how exhausted, we are
Mm-hmm.
without having that person behind us there to support. I mean, I can only imagine having to juggle all of that alone. Um, and I bet the guilt factor is even higher
Mm.
and in fact, I see that it's even higher when you don't have that other person to kind of, tag out in
Yeah.
a sense and be like, hey, you got this. Okay, you got this. Um, but for us, I mean, we're married, but we have not been blessed with children yet. And honestly, with the growth of our business, I did not expect to be having balance and these feelings, these guilt feelings so quickly.
Yeah.
I really thought that they would come later down the road when we had built this, what I am going to reference as empire. Well, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it would be that, but like I had a vision in my brain that at some point I would experience it and it would be with children and our business would be to a certain size. And no, I didn't expect to feel it so much in the beginning. What I
Mm-hmm.
feel like is just the beginning stages of the growth
Mm-hmm.
that you work for and pray for. Um, but it just, yeah, it can just feel really overwhelming and it can feel hard. And I don't know. It's another reason why we have to have people around us that are experiencing the same things,
Yeah.
that are building businesses, that have, aggressive goals for growth and want to build out a future for their family that, live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have people in your circle that are doing the same thing, experiencing the same thing. Otherwise, you feel crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm talking to my husband and I'm like, I just feel like I sound crazy right now, because it's hard unless you have someone that has owned a business as a spouse. It's hard to really understand that. Kids don't understand that.
Yeah.
And it just feel like, oh my gosh, this is the words coming out of my mouth. Am I speaking another language?
I was getting ready to ask you because Greg, is entrepreneurial and he
Hmm.
does understand what it takes to run a business and the sacrifice, and
Yeah.
you can't turn it off. You can't just walk away from it. That's just not a thing. I was going to ask you how that um, is with you and your husband, and like how
Hmm.
you kind of juggle the feeling of, because he's not entrepreneurial, he doesn't own a
Mm-mm.
business.
Mm-mm. No, honestly, we're figuring it out. We are a work in progress. I am really lucky to have someone who has always been my biggest fan
Mhm.
and has always been very supportive. And when I made the decision to leave the corporate world and enter into an entrepreneurial journey and own my own business, he was very much involved in that conversation because it was going to require sacrifice,
Yeah.
quite a lot of it. And there's a whole mix of stories involved in how we've come to be here now. But it is a work in progress in that, kind of like what you experienced at night. He wants to talk. He wants to hear about my day. He wants to just connect. And it's not that I don't want to do that. It's that most of the time my brain is so tired,
Mhm.
from just answering questions, being at events, hosting, just all the things.
Yep.
Then the service work and just the appointments, and it just it's tiring.
Mhm.
So we're just trying our best right now to communicate, and just if he is feeling like left out or that we're not spending enough intimate time together, we're
Mhm.
just talking through it the best way that we can. And from there, we're just going to have to figure out what that compromise looks
Mhm.
like, what that middle ground is, and do our best. I know that that's going to change as we have seasons of our life, as we are blessed with children,
Yep.
as the business grows. I know that it's never going to stay the same. It's only going to get more and more difficult, and it's only going to make us communicate more.
Yeah.
So my thought is that if we communicate, then we're 50 to 60% of the way there. Everything else in between, we can just kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
That's my hope, anyways.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's the one thing that I think, I won't say Greg and I have it all figured out. We don't. We're figuring it out every single day. We're trying to
Mm-hmm.
see how all this stuff works. But one thing that we've always been very clear on and very specific about from the beginning is communication is key. Whatever
Yeah.
you're feeling, whatever you're happy about, mad about, sad about, whatever you need help with, like, you've
Mm-hmm.
got to communicate it,
Yeah.
because I can't read your mind. And to be honest, I don't have time.
No,
Like, just, I'm a very direct, blunt communicator. So for me, I'm like, just tell me.
just tell me what
Don't
you
beat
want.
around the bush.
Yep.
Like, don't fluff it up. Like, just talk to me. Like, how can I support you, or what's going really great, or what's not. And so I think, like, the number one solution to all of these things is you got to start with communication. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
It's awesome. So if there was one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's like just starting out or just working their way into this journey of
Mm,
entrepreneurship and trying to understand how to balance it, like, what would you say?
one piece of advice for someone starting out in this journey and trying to balance it. I would say keep a calendar.
Mm.
Um, some people are big advocates about time blocking.
Mhm.
I will say that it doesn't work so well for me. So I'm having to. I use a form of time blocking, but not in the way that most people advocate for it. But I am an advocate of my calendar controls me, and if my calendar is out of sort, then there is no shot that I'm going to get everything done that I need to get done. So, um, and I would also say, it doesn't have to be perfect,
Mm.
but it really is a beautiful work in progress. It is not something that you are going to have figured out right away. And if you do, please send me what you found, because
Right.
I would
I want to
love
know.
to add that to my notes. But yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress. The entire journey for me, I'm a major perfectionist,
Mm.
and I really had to buy into the concept that it is a journey,
Mhm.
and that it is not something that you are going to be able to lock in and really get quickly. You're along for the ride, and it's a
Yeah.
long ride. Um, So once I bought into that concept, everything changed. I started giving myself more grace. And I
Mm,
wish I would have given myself more grace early on and just realized that it's just part of the process. And that the important thing is that I get started and that I try something. And if it doesn't work, great. We've learned something and now we can fine tune it. And
yep.
eventually we'll get to a version of it that's most efficient, that works best for our family or for our situation.
Yes.
That's, if I could go back, that's what I would tell myself.
I love that. That is really, really good advice.
Mm.
And I echo the calendar piece. I do a
Mhm.
version of time blocking. It's not like typical. I don't put it on my calendar, but I'm like, okay, I have this chunk of time here. This is what was on my to do list from yesterday. So this is the priority. So that's like
Yeah.
what's being done in this hour.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. It's
Mm-mm.
not happening.
No, no
It's not a
chance.
thing. So yeah, the calendar is most important. And we put everything on our calendar, the
Mm-hmm.
personal, the work, the reminders.
Yes.
Like I have to text someone today at 2 o'clock because she told me she was going to do something by 2 o'clock today. And I said, I'm holding you accountable. So guess what? I put it on my calendar so that I could hold her accountable to
Yep.
make sure she did the thing that
Yep.
she said she was going to do. So,
And some people will color code it. I
yes.
haven't gotten to that point yet. I just
Yeah.
use the same color, but some people will code it. Like you said, any reminders, anything that if somebody needs to do for me or I
Yeah.
need to follow up on, they're on my calendar. If
Yep.
they aren't on my calendar, it doesn't happen.
Love that.
Yeah, it's a wild ride. It can very easily, if I guess I'll say this, if you focus too much on creating balance, you very easily get overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah.
The reality is it's a seesaw. There is no true, like, a seesaw doesn't stay even all the time. It is a constant, like, act of trying to figure out how you function with both
Mm-hmm.
pieces, because both pieces are important. I function that my family, and I know you do too, our families definitely are the most important. And honestly, they're the driver of why we do what we do.
Yep.
There is not a business owner out there who isn't doing it for their family.
Yeah.
I will bet at least 99.9% of us are. There's a personal vision that is driving that want. Um, but it's you have to buy into the journey. You
Mm-hmm.
have to love the journey. Your spouse has to love the journey with you. If there
Yes.
is a spouse behind you, and you just have to fall in love with the process, and you can't be so obsessed with it being perfect all the time, because it's not going to be.
Yep.
It's never going to be, actually.
Never.
It's a hard one pill for me to swallow.
It took me a while. So I have one more question for you,
Yes.
and then we can kind of wrap it up. It's made me think of this when you were saying that before. Has there ever been a time where you chose to slow down the growth of your business for your family?
Not yet.
Okay.
With where we are, we have hit heavy growth mode.
Yeah.
And it's just been a constant climb, and a lot of answered prayers are coming to fruition. And so I know that probably within the next few years I'm going to experience that, but I haven't had to experience it yet. Right now I'm in the season where I'm welcoming the blessings, I'm
Yeah.
welcoming the abundance, I'm welcoming the growth, and I'm having to balance between those things, knowing that I know what I have to do to execute now, and I want to repeat it, but that
Mm-hmm.
is taking more of my time. And so now I'm having to shift towards, okay, what is the most efficient use of my time?
Mm,
Where do I delegate?
yes.
Where, how do I evaluate whether this is something I delegate or I keep? And how much time is it taking me? I haven't experienced that yet. What about you?
Many times. There have been, I mean, I can think of a few things off the top of my head, but we have had moments of we slowed my business down to propel his
Mm-hmm.
business that we sold.
Yep.
And it was intentional in this one needed the priority because that's the one that fed our family.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that was already fueling, like, this is what paid us, this is what gave us these different things. I had 4 kids in 4.5 years. So I had many moments where my business was climbing and it was just me at the time. Now I have a full team, but then
Yeah.
it was just me.
Yeah.
And I chose to slow it down, not take on more clients, and just ride it steady because I knew I had a baby coming, needed more of my attention, all those kinds of things. But I remember looking back and I used to be like, man, like, I feel like I could do more. I'm
Mhm.
frustrated that I want to do more, but I also am so grateful that I get to be with my family.
Yeah.
Again, it was that internal struggle of like, I love what I do and I love having this amazing career that I'm able to pour into.
Yep.
But there's a season for it, and right now it's not my turn.
Mhm.
But one day there will be. And now I'm really grateful we did it the way we did, because if we hadn't grown Greg's business to the level that we did, we wouldn't have been able to sell it. And we wouldn't have learned everything that we did learn
Mhm.
in growing his business, which is what transformed my business into what it is today.
Mhm.
And so we look back at that often and we're like, man, we wish we could have done this with the sale of the business, or maybe this or that. But at the end of the day, if we would have, my business wouldn't be where it is. And it's like exponentially growing and still allowing us to pour into our family. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the way that we did it. God knew what he was doing.
He did.
He was very intentional.
He did. And it's cool. I mean, there's always something we can learn from every decision we make, right? There's not, I don't necessarily believe that there's like a wrong answer, but there's always lessons we can learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so cool to look backwards and just see like the answered prayers and the realignments and oh, we did this instead of this. And it's really, really cool. But we often get so focused on the building that we forget to look back and watch and just appreciate
Yeah.
what we built. That was why I asked you earlier before we started recording, what did you do to celebrate when you have a
Mm-hmm.
milestone? I say that because I'm terrible at celebrating my milestones. So I
Yeah.
want someone who's going to hold me accountable. But what are those milestones that you're trying? And when you hit them, like celebrate. That doesn't mean you got to go out and spend thousands of
Right.
dollars, but just go and treat yourself. Do something fun.
Yeah.
Let it be. Let your if needed, let your spouse and your kids be a part of it. Like whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
But we've got to celebrate because it's hard. I mean,
Very.
it's so hard. There is a reason why not every person out there is a business owner. It's
Yes.
it's a grind, and you've got to find ways to make it fun. Otherwise, it's not you can't last
Oh,
in that world.
yeah.
You got to find ways to make it fun and appreciate the journey.
Yes. I agree. So, well, this was great.
I enjoyed this so much.
Yes.